Good evening, guys. We're going to continue Be'ezrat Hashem our shi'ur in the Zera Shimshon. We're up to Parashat Toldot. We're going to do Dirush Gimel if you're following those blue versions that we started with before. I got a new version, I upgraded, Baruch Hashem. But we're going to start with Dirush Gimel. There's a lot to say. And Be'ezrat Hashem, Naseh v'natzliach. So first I'm going to start from the beginning of the parasha, not in the Zera Shimshon, because he talks about the first few pasukim and what Rashi says on it, and he has questions on Rashi's explanation. So let's just do that quickly. I'll tell you outside. From the very beginning of the parasha, it says like this: Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Abraham. Abraham holided Yitzchak. These are the offsprings of Yitzchak and son of Abraham. Abraham begat, as they translate. Begat, meaning he's the father of Yitzchak. And then it says, Vahi Yitzchak ben 40 shana bekachtot Rivka bat betulah Arami mipadan Aram achot Laban Arami lo leisha. Yitzchak was 40 years old when he married Rivka, when he took Rivka, daughter of Betuel, etc., who was the sister of Laban. And Yitzchak, Vayitar Yitzchak la Hashem le'nochach ishto. Yitzchak prayed to Hashem in regards to his wife, about his wife. Why? Ki akarahi, because she was barren. She was unable to have children. They waited 10 years, says Rashi. 10 years they couldn't have children. And at that point, that's when you have to start asking questions. So they both prayed. Rashi says famously, she prayed on her side of the room, he prayed on his side of the room. And Hashem answered Yitzchak. And Rivka became pregnant. Next pasuk, and this is the pasuk here that the Zera Shimshon is going to try to analyze. Vayitrodetzu is a hard word to translate. It means they were troubling, very troubling. They were trying to push themselves out. The children inside her, the fetuses, were trying to push themselves out, says Rashi. And she said to herself, because of that struggle and pain she was having, Lama ze anochi, for what do I need this? For what do I need this? Look at Rashi. Rashi explains, Vayitrodetzu. Al kochach hamikra hazeh omer dorsheni. Rashi says this pasuk is calling out for you to doresh it, to expound it, because there's something unusual about it, he says. Shistam, mahi retzitza. What is this retzitza, this running, troubling, it's hard words to translate. Bechatav, imken lamazanochi, she said, why do I need this? Rabotenu darshu leshon ritza. The rabbis explained this pasuk, this word means from the word ritza. Ritza means to jump. To run. Right? What does it mean? Whenever she, while she was pregnant, when she passed by places of Torah, Shel Shem ve'Ever, for example, the most famous one was the yeshiva held by Shem and Ever. Shem was the son of Noach. Ever was the great grandson of Noach. They ran this yeshiva together, teaching ways of Hashem, which they accepted from Noach, and Noach got from Adam, generation to generation. Right? There were other tzaddikim in the middle there, Chanoch, Metushelach. Ve'avar Yaakov ratzu umeparkes latzet. Yaakov was trying to come out. Whenever she passed by such places, Yaakov was trying to push himself out. And then when she would pass by areas of avodah zarah, idol worship, Esav meparkes latzet. Esav tried to push himself out. Another explanation, that they were arguing, debating with each other, Yaakov and Esav, regarding the inheritance of the two worlds, olam hazeh and olam haba. They were deciding who's going to get what, basically. She said, if this is so, if her pregnancy was so difficult, her pregnancy was so troubling, she said to herself, Lama ze anochi, why do I need this? Mit'ava u'mitpalelet al herayon. Rashi explains, she's asking, why did I pray for this? Because remember, the pasuk right before this was her and Yitzchak praying to get pregnant. Now she got pregnant, she's in so much pain and trouble, she's saying, Lama ze anochi, why did I pray for such a thing? Rivka imenu. Does that make sense to you? You prayed for something, for 10 years struggling not to have children, all of a sudden Hashem answers your prayer, you're pregnant,
selfish,
and you take it back.
She's probably in a lot of pain. Tremendous pain.
Okay, but she has to understand this is part of the pregnancy, no? Now again, this is an unusual pregnancy because right, because she had like a schizophrenic child. She doesn't understand. She is it tzaddik or rasha? He wants to come out of avodah zarah. He wants to come out Torah places. It confused her. Fine. Finishing off Rashi, she went to seek out an answer. From who? It says the pasuk, et Hashem. From Hashem. What does it mean from Hashem? Hashem Asmidao? No. What does it mean? Lebet midrasho shel Shem. It means she went to the Bet Midrash of Shem, the son of Noach. Shem, the son of Noach, was of course the representative of Hashem. He was the Gadol Ador. He was the Talmid Chacham of the time. Lidrosh et Hashem, says Rashi, she'agid la ma tehes besofa. She was trying to find out what is going to be the end of this pregnancy. Why is this pregnancy so troubling? Why is it so not understandable? Vayomer Hashem lah, and Hashem says to her. What do you mean Hashem says to her? Shem, meaning Shem, the son of Noach, is speaking to her. He told her, Shnei goyim bevitnech. You have two nations in your belly. Now, the word goyim, we read it as goyim, but in the Sefer Torah, if you ever looked at it, it's not spelled goyim. Goyim, the normal way to spell it is gimel vav yud mem sofit. But here in the Torah, it says gimel yud mem sofit. So the vav is switched out for a yud. Why? Because that lends the following reading. You can read it as geim. Geim from Melishon ge'eh. Ge'eh means a person of high stature. So who is that referring to? Rashi is going to tell us. But first, Shem finishes off his answer to her. He says to her, Ushnei le'umim mi'ayich yiparedu, and two nations from your me'ayich, meaning from your insides, shall split up. Ul'om mil'om ye'ematz, and from nation to nation, they will fortify and get strength. One nation will fortify the other one, basically. V'rab ya'abod tza'ir, and the greater one will serve the younger one. The older one will serve the younger one. That is the pasuk that Shem says to her. Rashi explains, V'yomer Hashem la, al yedei shaliach l'Shem ne'ama baruch HaKodesh. Shem was told all this information to Ruach HaKodesh. Right? So Hashem himself is speaking to Rivka through Shem. V'hu amar la, b'seder, shnei goyim bebitnech. Again, what does it mean two nations are in your belly? Geim ketiv. The pasuk says geim, with two yuds, which means people of high stature. Who are these? Rashi says, Elu Antoninus veRebbi. This is referring to two people later on in history, Antoninus and Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi.
Antoninus.
However you want to pronounce it. And Antoninus and Rabbi, you should know, there's a whole page of stories about them in Masechet Avodah Zarah and throughout the Talmud. They were best friends. Antoninus was a Roman. Not only was he a Roman, he was a Roman emperor, the Caesar. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi means he's from the dynasty of David HaMelech. He was the president, the acting president, the leader of the Jewish people in his time, the times of the late Tanaim. He was the one who finally wrote down the Mishnah. Before him, Mishnah was not allowed to be written down. He changed the whole outlook of Jewish history after that. Because after him, there's a whole reason why he did it and why he was allowed to do it. I'm not getting into that now. But because of him, we have all these libraries today of the oral Torah written. Otherwise, it would be gone. We have no Judaism. They were best friends, and they were Talmidei Chachamim, huge Talmidei Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi used to teach Antoninus Torah in private, and Antoninus even converted in private while being the king. Did you know that?
We learned the other day that we're not supposed to teach Goyim.
Well, that's why he converted him. Unless they try to convert, which is what happened. Not only that, I'll tell you a short story in the Gemara. It says in Avodah Zarah, when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was born, these guys were connected from birth. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was born, there was a decree in the land that you're not allowed to do Brit Milah. Not allowed. If you do it, Chas v'Shalom, they kill the baby, they kill the parents, whatever it is. So Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he was a boy, he was a baby, he's born. Of course, they did Brit Milah. The Jews are not going to not do Brit Milah. He did Brit Milah. The Romans come to inspect. They knock on the door. And the mother, she didn't know what to do. She was close friends with Antoninus. Antoninus' mother. Antoninus' mother. They were close friends. And they were born about the same time. Newborns. She tells him, listen, take my child for now, hide him, give me your baby.
Wow.
And Antoninus still had the orla. He was not circumcised. And she showed the Roman guards the Antoninus, and because of Antoninus, we are going to see survived. It's an unbelievable story. But here's the main thing, how it's connected to our parasha. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is obviously one of the greatest people to come from Yaakov Avinu. And Antoninus is one of the greatest people to come from who? Esav. Esav was a descendant. So Antoninus is a descendant of Esav. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is a descendant of Yaakov. That's who is being referred to, and it says Shnei Geim bevitnech. Two great nations, two great people are inside your belly, Rivka. Eventually. Who is this, says Rashi? Rabbi and Antoninus. Fine. Shelo Pasku, look at Rashi says here. He says another piece from the Gemara. Why were they also so great? They were such high stature, not only in Torah and wisdom, but also monetarily, financially. Why? Shelo Pasku me'al shulchanam lo tznon velo chazeret lo be'emot hachama velo be'emot hageshamim. That we're talking 2,000 years ago in the Middle East, and it says that never did they not have radishes and lettuce on their table year-round, whether it was summer or winter. For that to happen, you had to be very rich at that time. For us, we're spoiled. We go to the supermarket, we take whatever we want year-round. For them, it was a much different system. And nevertheless, they still had those vegetables year-round on their table. Fine. Next Rashi. Ushnei le'umim, also two nations are in use. He tells her, en le'um ela malchut. Le'um means a kingdom. Another word for that. From your innards, from your insides, they will split. What does it mean? From, which means while they're still inside you, they're already split. They're already different. This one to his wickedness, and this one to his simpleness, to his completeness. Last Rashi in the pasuk. Lo yishvu b'gdula. They won't be equal in greatness. When one goes up, the other one goes down. They're a seesaw. Yaakov and his descendants and Esav and his descendants are a seesaw. When we're up in Torah, in Maasim Tovim, and the nation is doing well, they can't do anything to us. But when it's the reverse, they have all the power. You understand? This is also one of the themes of the Berachot at the end that Yitzchak gives to Yaakov and Esav. It's also a main theme of the Berachot. That they're never together at the same time. Great. One is down and one's up, always. It says in Yechezkel, Prophet Yechezkel, there was a certain king from Esav. He says, I will be filled up because this was destroyed. It's a very poetic language, which means after one of the destructions of Yerushalayim, this king stood up and said, I can now fill up and I can become great and powerful because Yerushalayim was destroyed. Again, the same seesaw concept. Because they're down, now we can go up. Exactly what I said. Okay. That's Rashi on those Pasukim. Now starts the Zera Shimshon. Pasuk, Vayitrotzu habanim bekirba vatomer imken lama ze anochi. This pasuk that says that the two babies were in her stomach, in her belly, and they were arguing and fighting and causing a tough pregnancy, and she said, why do I need this? Rashi explains, as we said, imken gadol tzara haibur, if the pregnancy was so difficult, lama ze anochi, why do I need this? Mitava u'mitpalelet al harayon. Why did I pray to get pregnant? Ad kan sheno. V'kasheh al ze. This is a serious question, says Zera Shimshon. Ma makom l'she'ela zo. What place is there for this question? Liz'ok u'trachet al ma she'avar, to regret what happened in the past. Ve'ech tisak adatin lomar. How can you enter in your mind to say she'adam mitpalel, that somebody who prayed for something, which is Rivka, 10 years shouldn't have a child, she prayed to Hashem. All of a sudden, Hashem makes her pregnant. Yitrachet al ma she'itpalel, she's going to regret what she prayed for. V'od kasher, and furthermore, the next pasuk, vatelech lidrosh, when she went to seek out answers, v'chi isha ma'ubelet shesovelet za'ar, if you have a woman who's pregnant, who's going through pain, right? It's normal. It's part of the process, right? Certain things, pregnant woman is usually very uncomfortable. There's many different things that make her uncomfortable, right? Why should she go next to a prophet and a chacham like Shem to ask him, why am I having trouble, pain in my pregnancy? Does she not know this is the normal way of the world? Why did she go out of her way to go find Shem? What's going on over here? Furthermore, what is the meaning when Shem answers her and he says there's two nations inside you? Rashi explains specifically that this is referring to Shnei Rashi Goyim, two heads of nations, Elu Antoninus v'Rabbi, which is specifically Antoninus and Rabbi. as we spoke about. Why did Rashi want to explain specifically that? Why didn't he just answer it simply? What are the two nations? You have Yaakov, the Jewish nation, and Esav, the European, etc. nations. Just make it simple. Why are you going in the future to Rabbi and Antoninus? You have Yaakov and Esav. They were also the fathers of their nations, Yaakov and Esav. Why didn't he say them? Rashi also explained, as we saw, from your innards they will split, which means from while they're inside you. They're already separate, one to wickedness, one to goodness. That's Rashi's language. This perush, that one is going to good and one is going to bad, applies specifically to Yaakov and Esav. Because Esav was always bad, Yaakov was always good. Correct? It doesn't apply to Rabbi and Antoninus. Antoninus was also good. Remember, he converted, he helped the Jews undercover, so he's good. Because of him, Rabbi Yehuda stayed alive. So therefore, Rashi seems to be, his problem was with Rashi. Rashi first explained that when Hashem was telling her there's two nations inside you, it's talking about Rabbi and Antoninus. And then when he tells them they're splitting inside you, they're splitting, it's talking about Yaakov and Esav. What do you mean? Keep it consistent. That's his problem. Fine, now he's going to start answering the questions. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should have time to finish this. Vayesh lomar, you can answer, shelefi shechava bechet'a garma sheipelu nitzotzot shel kedusha toch hakilipa. He goes back to the beginning of creation. Chava, when she did her sin, her and Adam Rishon and Chava, right? She caused, what we understand in Kabbalah, in the deeper wisdom, that the holy sparks, the holy pieces of holiness that were once one, they were caused to shatter and spread throughout the world, like a piece of glass, right? And because of that, she caused a lot of the kedusha, the good part, the good side of things, to be mixed in and fall into the hands of the klip'ah, of the tum'ah, of the dark side of dark forces, so to speak, right? The forces of evil, right? Something like that. Ze gorem lishlitat tum'ah ba'olam, and this causes the ability for evil and impurity to exist in the world. It all started from that sin. Umezeh ba'im harasha'im, and from there, wicked people come from there, which means their source, their energy is from there. And wicked people cause a double pain to their mothers, specifically to their mothers who are carrying them while they're pregnant. The wicked people cause double. What does it mean? Hashem said to Chava after she ate from the tree, he gave each one of them a specific curse, right? Chava, Adam, then Achash, then Chava, then Adam. To Chava, Hashem said to her, Harba arbe itzvonech veheronech. I will greatly increase your pain in your pregnancy. Before then, look at the Midrash, how was Cain and Hevel and their sisters born? Remember, Cain had one sister, Hevel had two sisters. Total of 5 people, 5 kids. Midrash says they went up to the bed as 2, they came down as 7. 2 plus 5, 7, it says before, right? Because there was no pregnancy. They walked out, they walked like animals. Leavdil, when animals come out, you don't need to nurture them. They're already walking, talking. That's how it was. There was no pregnancy. But once she ate from the tree, that's part of her punishment now. The pregnancy and the process of it, the pain. V'hakefel shel harba arbe, and the language Hashem used to tell this curse was harba arbe, double language of increasing. Increase, I will increase. Why double? Milvad madr chazal. Besides what Chazal taught about that, what they taught about that is that the woman had now a menstrual cycle and other issues down there, basically. That's the double issue. I'll get into that. But another thing he wants to add, Hainu lomar shemilvad tzar harayon, that besides the pain, the regular pain of pregnancy, that's one increasing. Od yelatzar kaful shetulid rashaim. The other pain is that she's going to give birth, or she has the possibility to give birth to Rishaim, to wicked people. To wicked people. Let me ask you a question. If somebody knew that their child was going to be very, very wicked, do you think it would be a good idea to still go through and have the child? This actually comes up with Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu, right? He was the king. The prophet came to him and said, "Listen, you're sick. You're gonna die. It's already it's decree in Shemaim. You know why? Because you didn't have children. You didn't do the first mitzvah." He says, "You know why I didn't have children? I saw Ruach HaKodesh who my children are going to be. They're going to bring Avodah Zarah to the whole nation." Natan says, "It's not your problem." The prophet says, "It's not your problem. You do your job, and the rest leave up to Hashem." And we know he ended up having children. He lived an extra 15 years. But the point is here that it's still suffering. It's still pain for a parent to know that they brought such a wicked person into the world. It hurts. It hurts. It's a suffering. And that's the double suffering of the language, Harba Arbe, says the Zera Shimshon. Like it says in Masechet Yoma, Zoru Risha'im Merachim. They become strangers. Risha'im, meaning wicked people, become strangers immediately from the womb. And because of her, I'll give you a background. It says in the bottom over here, there's a Mishnah, Masechet Yoma, talks about Halachot of Yom Kippur. What if you have a pregnant woman in Yom Kippur? Does she have to fast or no? Pregnant woman. Of course, she has to fast, right? She has to fast. Now, the Gemara says over there that if a pregnant woman smells something and she really has a craving for that thing that she smelled now, there is a sakana to her and the child if she doesn't have it. There is a life risk, says the Gemara, to her and the child if she doesn't eat that thing that she's craving from that smell. Specifically from a smell, it says, from a smell. So now the question is in the Gemara, what if that happened on Yom Kippur? On Yom Kippur, she passed by, I don't know, she smelled something amazing, and now she really wants it. Is she allowed to have it? Says the Gemara, Mishnah, you're allowed to. She must. But why? What does that mean? I'll bring it down over here. What does it say over here?
Is it the same application to non-kosher food?
Let's leave that on the side. I knew you were going to ask that. Let's say it's kosher food for now. Let's say it's kosher food. Okay? Okay, it says over there, the Mishnah, Rashi explains over there, it's the child that smells it and he wants it. If she doesn't eat it, they're both in danger. The Gemara says over there, that a pregnant woman who smelled something good, they came in front of Rabbi Yudanasi. Right? They came in front of him, they asked him the question, is she allowed to eat it? On Yom Kippur, it would happen on Yom Kippur. Amar lahu, he said to them, Zilu lehushula, go and whisper in her ear, the Yemat de Kippurehu, that listen, today's Yom Kippur. Can you try? Try to control it. Today's Yom Kippur, don't forget. Lehushula, they went and they told her, says, listen, today's Yom Kippur. Can you try to, control yourself? V'il chisha, and she accepted it. She accepted it, meaning she stopped. She stopped. She didn't eat it, but what happened? Kareh aleha, the Chachamim said about her, beterem etzarecha bebeten yidatich, which means it's in Yirmiyah. It means before I created you, in your belly I already know you. Nafak mina Rabbi Yohanan. Who came out of that child? Who was that baby when he was born? Rabbi Yohanan, one of the Chachamim. Rabbi Yohanan came out of that. He was the baby. What happened next? Another woman was pregnant. She smelled something delicious on Yom Kippur. They came to Rabbi Chanina. They asked Rabbi Chanina, today's Yom Kippur. She smelled something. She's really desiring this food. Are we allowed to give it to her? Amar lahu, he said to them, whisper to her that today's Yom Kippur. Velo illa chasha. They told her, she didn't listen. Said, Yom Kippur, listen, I don't care. I need to eat right now. And she ate on Yom Kippur. Kareh aleh, they said the following pasuk about her, Zoru Risha'im Merachim, which means wicked people already make themselves strangers. Strangers to who? Strangers to Hashem. Wicked people already make themselves strangers to Hashem from the womb, when they're inside. Nafak Mineh, who came out of that? Shabtai Atzar Pereh. This guy named Shabtai, his nickname was Atzar Pereh. Not Shabtai Tzvi. No, that's somebody else. It's way later. It's times the Gemara. Shabtai Atzar Pereh, his nickname means hoarder of fruits. He used to hoard fruits. He was a Rasha. You know how? He was a farmer. He had a bunch of produce, but he didn't put it out on the market. He kept it in. He locked it up. Why? To raise the prices, so he can make more money on you. This kind of Rasha, and he was the one who made his mom eat on Yom Kippur. That was the same child. You understand? That's what he's talking about. So that's the double suffering over here. Continuing in the Zera Shimshon. Omnam, nevertheless, בפרק כמה דסוטה, it says in מסכת סוטה, the following thing, אמרינן, שהנשים צדקניות לא היו בפתקה של חווה. Amazing thing. He says, righteous women, the Gemara says, righteous women were not part of the deal of Chava. What deal? The fact that she has to suffer in her pregnancy. Righteous women don't suffer in their pregnancy. The Gemara says, I didn't make it up. Righteous women don't suffer. So listen. That means definitely a righteous woman is giving birth to a righteous person. Because then they don't even have to suffer the regular suffering of pregnancy. All the more so, they don't suffer the double suffering of giving birth to Reshaim. They don't do that. Which means their children are tzaddikim. This is Masechet Berachot, the following thing as well. The end of Masechet Berachot, Samech Aleph Mud Bet, it says, Amrinan, Yada inish benavsheh itzadiku irasha'hu. A person has the ability to know about himself if he himself is a tzaddik or himself is a rasha. Which means a person, even if he doesn't show it externally, he knows who he is. He knows what team he's on. Right? He knows which side of the fence he's on. Therefore, this is all now introduction. Now he explains the answer to his original questions. He says, Rivka hayta yudat ba'atzma shi tzaddiket. Rivka, she was a very righteous woman, right? We know that. She was one of the imahot. She knew she was righteous, based on that principle. Ulefichach hitpalela al herayon. That's why she prayed to have children. Why? Because she thought, I'm righteous, and righteous women are not supposed to suffer in their pregnancy, and they also are not going to give birth to Reshaim. So therefore, let me pray to Hashem, so He can make me pregnant, and I'll bring more tzaddikim to the world. That's what she wanted. She thought I was going to get pregnant and bring tzaddikim to the world. שהייתה בטוחה בצדקתה שלא יצא ממנה בן השאר, like I said, because if not so, לא הייתה מתפללת כלל על הריון. If she knew she was going to give birth to Reshaim, she would not have prayed at all to get pregnant. He says, משום דאמרינן במדרש, הפסוק וראם אם דרך עוצב בי ונחני בדרך עולם. It says in the Midrash, explains the following pasuk in Tehillim, which says, see God, see, meaning Hashem, you look, if the way is going to be troublesome for me, meaning if the future is no good here, the future of how this so-and-so thing is going to work out, if it's not going to work out well, unecheni b'derech olam, and lead me basically to in the way of eternity, which means lead me on the right way. It's a very poetic pasuk. What does it mean, says the Midrash? Shnei bnei adam amru davar echad. Two people said the same thing. Abraham Avinu. Remember, many years they didn't have children either. Abraham Avinu said, Ma titen li v'anochi holech ariri. Hashem, what are you going to give me? Why are you going to give me all this great land, the whole Eretz Yisrael, if I'm walking ariri? What does ariri mean? Ariri means a person with no children. So Abraham says to Hashem, Hashem, you want to give me so much land, but I have no children to inherit the land from me. Im atid ani leholid banim ulachisecha mutav li v'anochi holech ariri. That's the pshat. What's the underlying message in the Midrash, in this pasuk? The Midrash explains. Abraham was saying that if you see God, that I'm going to have children that are good, bring them. If not, v'anochi holech ariri. I'd rather stay childless. Said Abraham Avinu. Which again, he said, Hashem, I only want to bring children in the world if they're going to be tzaddikim. Fine. V'chen David HaMelech also said, Im atidani leholid banim ulachisecha. If I'm going to have children in the future, they're going to make you angry, God. Mutavli, it's better uncheni b'derech olam, that you just lead me to olam haba, which means lead me to olam haba with no children. I don't need.
All these people had David Melech had Avishon.
Right.
Abraham had.
Right, but the point is, we're seeing. By the way, he had Ishmael, but Ishmael made Teshuvah at the end of his life. But the point is this: that we see that they're taking the initiative to pray. Their attitude. We see their attitude that God, I don't want to have negative children. Nobody wants to, right? That's the main point. Whatever happened afterwards is already God's plan. But the point is that from the get-go, they don't want it. ולכן therefore, כששמעה שנתרוצצו הבנים בקיבה, שהיה לה צער גדול מהייבוא שלה, הייתה מסתפקת ותוהה בעצמה. That's why when she got pregnant, and it was such a troubling pregnancy, and she was in so much pain, she started having doubts. Because remember, what are the principles? Righteous women don't have pain, and they don't give birth. And since they don't have pain, they don't give birth to Reshaim. but she's having pain. So what does it mean? Either she's not righteous, or the children she's going to have are not righteous. And that's what scared her. That's what scared her. Right? How is it possible, she said to herself? One of these have to be true. Or the general rule, or either the fact that righteous women don't have pain, when they're pregnant, either that's not true, and that's why she was suffering from the pain of the pregnancy, and therefore that means her child is a rasha, and that's very troubling to her. Or maybe or maybe she thought she was a tzaddiket, but maybe she's really not. Maybe she's not in the level that to not have pain in her pregnancy. So that's troubling to her. She's saying she thought she was very righteous, but in reality, she's feeling pain now. Maybe she's not righteous. So she was conflicted. And since at first the woman prays for pregnancy, after she gets pregnant, she prays that the child should be a proper child. Only after she gets pregnant, right? First you pray to get pregnant. Then after that you pray for the child to be good. That's why she went to search out the answer from Shem. To know if it was appropriate for her to take back what she prayed for. You understand? She's saying maybe I should have made a condition like Abraham and David made in the Midrash. Abraham and David HaMelech, they said to Hashem, if I'm going to have good children, bring. If not, don't bring. She didn't say, she said, Hashem, bring. That's it. So that's what she was regretting. She said, maybe I prayed wrong. Maybe my tefillah was not correct. שאם יהיו בנים מכעיסים שלא יהיו בני קיימא וזהו שכתב רש"י. That's what Rashi writes when he means when he writes אם כן גדול צער היבור שאני ראויה לסבול צער גדול של היבור או מפני שאין אני צדקת או משום שאף הצדקניות היו בפתקה של החווה אם כן טעיתי להתפלל על הריון. That's what it means when Rashi says that maybe she was taking back her prayer because she's regretting maybe she prayed the wrong way. And because of that, she's in the situation now that she's going to give birth to a rasha. And that's what troubled her.
She's going to get answers to her prayer.
Huh?
They got answers for Yitzchak.
Right, Yitzchak got answered, right? So that's a good point. That's a good point. Nevertheless, you can't say that her tefillah was nothing. They went in the garbage, right? Even we say that there's a principle.
It was answers to her.
Yeah, but she doesn't know why God.
She don't know how God answered, but the principle is every tefillah does something. If it's heartfelt and it's proper, Hashem doesn't, chas shalom, okay, sorry, no, and put it to the side. He uses it for something.
They say when you ask for something, ask very specifically about it to make it clear.
This is my chalok actually. Some say you should be very specific in your tefillot. Some say you should be very general, and that Hashem make the specifics. There's two schools of thought.
You know why? So you're never wrong.
Yeah, that's also true. Hashem, give me everything good. Amen. So that's it. Okay, continuing here.
This is always machloket. Why? Always right.
שאם עתידים הם להוליד לרשעים לא היו רוצים בנים וכן היה ראוי לי לעשות. That's what I should have done. She says והייתה מצטערת ומפחדת שמא טעתה בתפילתה. She was troubled. Maybe she made a wrong tefillah. Now, והקדוש ברוך הוא השיב לה. Hashem answered her through Shem. Answered her שני גויים בבטנך. You have two nations inside you. Rashi explained. Bashur Rabbeinu, I'm sorry. Zal, Shne Rashi Goim El Antoninus Verebi. This is talking about specifically Antoninus and Rabbi Udanisi, as we said. Which means Sheshibat Sa'ara, the reason for her suffering, Eina Mechamat Herayon, was not because of the pregnancy. Meaning really she's a tzaddiket. And really she was supposed to have a non-painful pregnancy. But why was it painful? That one was trying to come out of Torah places, one was trying to come out of Avodah Zarah places, for the following reason. שוודאי הוא שהצדקניות לא היו בפתקה של החווה, וגם האמת הוא שהיא צדקת גמורה, ולא היה מן הראוי שתוליד בנשה, וזה הצער, and this pain she was feeling was why? הוא אדרבה מחמת זכותה. It was because she was such a tzaddiket that Hashem gave her this specific suffering. Why? שעתה הקליפה והקדושה מריבות זו עם זו. שהקדושה רוצה להוציא את שלה מתוך הקליפה, ומשם יצא אנטוניוס שהוא הפרי הנפרד מהפסולת. Unbelievable answer here. I'll tell you the following. I have to give you an introduction. When Adam Arishon and Chava made the sin of eating from the tree, you have to understand what they did. I'm going to tell you what the Rambam says in the Sefer called Moreh Nevuchim. This is where it gets interesting. Sefer called Moreh Nevuchim, very controversial Sefer. He writes in the beginning of the Sefer the following idea. Before Adam ate from the tree, the world was like this. There was no good and bad in the world. Remember, what was the tree called? The tree called was Etz Hadat Tov Vara, tree of knowledge of good and evil. There was no such thing as good and evil. What was there? What was the contrast? Truth and falsehood. Emet and sheker. That's it. That's it. Everything that's to do with Hashem is emet. Everything that doesn't is sheker. It doesn't exist. It's falsehood. And it was so obvious. There was a beaming light. There was no trouble. There was no good or bad. What is good and bad, by the way? Good and bad is subjective. It's your opinion. What I say is good, you say is bad. What you say is good, I say is bad. Or there's spectrums of good and bad. There's gray areas. There's opinions. It's subjective. But truth and falsehood is objective. You can't argue. There's no opinions on that. It's either it's true or it's not true. Either 2 + 2 = 4 or it doesn't. Or it's something else. You understand what I'm saying? And once he ate from the tree, Etz Hadat Tov Vera. Da'at means knowledge. But in the deeper wisdom, Da'at means intimate connection. The closest connections the two things can have, that's described by the word Da'at. How do we know that? It says in the Torah, Vayeda ha'adam, Vayadam yada et ishto. And Adam Rishon knew his wife. Vatahar vatelet ben. And she got pregnant, she gave birth to her son, and she called him Cain. What does it mean he knew her? He knew her and she got pregnant? So knowing means it's describing the act of intimate connection. Do you understand? When you know something, when you claim to know something, that piece of knowledge is a part of you. It becomes a part of you. It's intimately connected to your brain, to your psyche, to your neshama. That's how you know. That's what knowledge is, Da'at. So now plug that into the name of the tree. Etz Hadat Tov Vara. It was a tree of connecting good and bad. Mixing. That's what they did. They mixed everything that was obviously true and everything that's obviously false. They mixed it up. When you have clear black and clear white, you're able to understand this is black and this is white. Once you overlap them and smudge them a little bit, now you have gray layers. Some of the falseness has truth in it. Some of the truth has false in it. Everything is a mixture. And that's why the rest of our lives, the rest of history, Hashem is trying to find a nation, which he eventually does, Jewish people, whom he commands to start cleaning up that mixture. Start separating. Start separating. That's why we have so many mitzvot that prohibit you from making certain mixtures. Sha'atnes, wool and linen, can't mix. One is this side, one is that side. Meat and dairy, can't mix. You understand? Meat and dairy, can't mix. What else? Kil'ayim, certain, when you're planting seeds in the field, you can't mix them. You can't interbreed animals. You can't interbreed, you can't graft plants. There's so many mitzvot about that you can't mix things. Why? Because our whole work as Jewish people is we have to start separating. And the more you separate, once you get to Mashiach time, and all the mitzvot accumulate, God becomes obvious. Because Hashem is, and all the holy side is separate from the non-holy side, from the wicked side, from the Tum'ah. And then the choice becomes obvious. Obviously you follow here. But at that point, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be too late. We don't accept goyim anymore. We don't accept gerim. We don't accept converts anymore. Because when it's Hashem's beaming light comes out and it's all obvious and all the good and bad is sifted and it's cleanly, again, black and white like it was before Adam, there's no more test. There's no more test. Now you want to convert. What about all the times before when everyone was just stepping on us? You don't want to convert that time, right? Now that it's obvious that I'm Yisrael Chai, now you want to convert. It's too late. Hashem will take care of them. So now, but where did this whole process start? Remember, Adam Rishon, he ate the tree, the whole world became mixed. Good and bad is mixed. Now we have to sift. Where is the first time in history after that where there's clear and distinct, no more mixture? You have clearly good and clearly bad. In Rivka Imenu's belly. Yitzchak, Esav and Yaakov in Rivka, they're clearly different. They're already from the beten, already separate and different. You have to. So Yaakov is separating this, is representing the side of holiness. Esav is representing the side of tum'ah. That mixture was still present, but they now are starting to pull back. Meaning, what does it mean there's a mixture? Some holy pieces are in the non-holy side, and vice versa. So as Yaakov was trying to separate himself and put himself clearly on the team of holiness, he had to pull out those good pieces that got mixed in to the bad side, to Esav's side. Who were those good pieces? Who's one great example of them? An unbelievable gem? Antoninus. The converts, the righteous converts. All the greatest righteous converts in history came from Esav. Did you know that? They come from Esav. Think about it. They don't come from Esav. Ruth is from Moab. Moab is not from Esav. No. Many, not all. I'll take it back. Not all. Don't quote it. Many. And he's going to give you some examples. Because those are the good sparks that got mixed into the klippah, and that's what was trying to be decided and deliberated, allotted in her stomach. Yaakov was saying, Leavdil to Esav in the belly, metaphorically, the one that's coming, the person, Antoninus, who's going to come for you many years, he's on my side. He belongs on this side. And that's what was going on in our belly. Look what he says further. He gives you a few examples. I don't know if we're going to finish this, guys. But we said the main part I wanted to say. Let's just go 5 more minutes.
No, but you said that your point is that good could become bad and bad could become good. Meaning that person that wasn't believed, or
of course,
like
Rasha,
for example, he became Baal Tshuva.
That's not, yes, but his source, his root is on the good side, right? All Am Yisrael is on the good side, the root. That's the point. Here, the problem is that some of the roots got mixed up to the bad side, and they're suckling from that. So Yaakov was trying to claim those back on his side, and Antoninus is one of them. And there's going to be a few more. Look what he says over here. ואף על פי שאנטונינוס היה מלך בראש, והראש והמלך שקולים וחוללים כל העם, בכל מקום אי אפשר לקליפה לפלוט בפעם אחת כל מה שבלעה מהקדושה. Even though Antoninus was one of the great pieces that got mixed in and he saved them, it's impossible for the klipa means the husk, the outer, the negative energy, the negative side, they can't spit out all the good pieces that they had all at once. So it was throughout history, little by little. What was it? That's why they had to come 2 nations from them. 2 nations. Edom Israel. Edom is the nation of Esav. Edom from the word Adom, red, right? Because when he bought the soup, he exchanged the bechorah for the soup. The soup was red. He called him Adom. Adom said, give me that red stuff, right? So he's called Edom. And Israel, we know who Israel is. Ki birvot ha'umah shel Esav, as Esav's nation grew, yatz'u mimena. Those good pieces came out little by little. Who came out? Kiti'ah bar Shalom. There's one person, his name is Kiti'ah bar Shalom. He was, it says over here, he was one of the big ministers of Rome, and he was a defender of Israel, of the Jewish people against the Caesar. The Caesar wanted to make bad decrees, and this person, Kiti'ah bar Shalom, he spoke good for them and he saved them, Jewish people. And because of that, he was Zochet Olam Haba. Kiti'ah, it says, and if you want to see, this is in Masechet, in the Gemara, and Avodah Zarah speaks about that. The whole story. Very interesting. I don't have time to tell you the whole story now, but that's one person. Another person is Costinero Shel Rabbi Chanina ben Teradion. Costinero, who was involved in the story of Rabbi Chanina ben Teradion. Rabbi Chanina ben Teradion, also Masechet Avodah Zarah, it explains. There was a time the Romans said no one's allowed to teach Torah in public. Rabbi Chanina ben Teradion, he didn't care. He kept teaching in public. The Romans wanted to make an example of him. They took him in the public. They wrapped him around with Sefer Torah. They put inside the Sefer Torah, between him and the parchment, wet cloth, and they lit the Sefer Torah on fire. And he was burning on fire, but it was a slow death because there was a wet layer in between him and the fire. His students were asking him at this time. The Gemara says students were asking him, Rabbi, what do you see? He said, I see the letters fluttering flying to the sky. Which means you could burn the physical Torah, but the essence of Torah you'll never be able to destroy. And then they said to him, Rabbi, open your mouth. Why open my mouth? So the fire can go inside and you'll die faster. Why are you suffering over here? He said, no, better it be given away than it be taken. I'm sorry, better it be taken than it be given away. Which means the whole topic, is a person allowed to commit suicide? Is a person allowed to facilitate his own death faster? Big topic in halakha, medical halakha. He was of the opinion that no, in that situation. So then what happened? This guy Castanero, he was a Roman. He was the executioner doing all this. He asked the rabbi, he said, Rabbi, what is he said? If I remove the fire, if I remove
the parchment, how do you call that?
The wet layer,
Yeah, the wet layer.
so you can die faster, will I have olam haba? He told him, yes. Yes, you will. So he did it. He took out the wet layers. The rabbi died faster, went to his olam, and then this guy Castanero jumped in the fire too. Because otherwise, all the Romans thought he was going to do, he's going to be put to death anyway. He jumped in the fire, and then a bat. Yeah, so the same question. So then a bat came out. It says the Gemara, a divine voice came out and said, "This person has olam haba." Castanero.
How? He commits suicide.
Like I said, it's an important question that needs to be answered. But yeah, so the point is here, that was the idea. Let me just finish this paragraph and we'll call it a day here. There's more to say, but listen, we can only say as much as we can. Another few tzaddikim that came out, Shmaya v'Avtalion v'Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, the Rabbi Meir of the Mishnah, the amazing Rabbi Meir, he came from, his ancestors were converts from Esav. Shemaya and Avtalion also, they were both converts and they led the whole Jewish nation at a time. Yeah. But before Rabbi Meir was Shemaya and Avtalion. I actually have two uncles, they're called Shemaya and Avtalion after them. One was Ab Bedin and one was the Nasi, the leader, and they were both converts from Esav. If you look at the Pirkei Avot, they're in one of the first few Mishnayot, I think the third Mishnah over there, or second or third Mishnah, it speaks about them, what they used to say. Actually, not third. No, it's actually much later. In the first parak over there. And now, finishing off, many other righteous converts came from there. But from Ishmael's descendants, you don't have these righteous converts. They're not talked about anywhere in the Gemara and history about these amazing converts that came and led the Jewish people. You don't have that. It's from Esav, by the way. Amalek is the son of Eliphaz, who was the son of Esav. The Gemara says that the Bnei Banim, the children's and later generations of Amalek, were sitting learning the Torah in Yerushalayim. You understand? So this is all from Esav. And that's what it means when the pasuk says, from your me'ayich, from your innards, they will start splitting up. What's they will start splitting up? The holy and the non-holy will start splitting and choosing their sides. From your me'ayim, from Rivka's belly. Because only because it's in your davka me'ayich, you are a righteous tzaddiket vessel who can hold such an amazing power that's happening right now in the world. Such a tikkun in the world is being done. The holy is going on its team and it's pulling out the non-holy. That can only happen in a tzaddiket, in a very righteous vessel. So Hashem's answer to her was, you think you want to take your prayer back, your tefillah back? Chas v'shalom. That tefillah, you don't even know what it's accomplishing. משום הכי נתרבה כוח הקדושה להוציא את שלה מתחת יד הקליפה, כמו שכתוב במקלים בים בשח בפרשה זו, and there's a lot more to be said in the other מקובלים in the shach as well, but I think we said the main point. We see here an unbelievable story. When we're reading the Sefer Bereshit, we think we're reading just stories that happen to people, and there's little nice, little tidbits of good information on how to be a good person in there, and yes, that's all true. That's only true when you're a child, 6, 7, 8 years old. Once you grow older, you understand the world more, you're able to understand deeper concepts. You have to realize that fundamental concepts of existence from start to finish are being spoken about in Bereshit. Every little thing that's happening, that every pasuk, that you can have a question, why is the Torah telling me this? There's a whole part in last week's parasha, or also this week's parasha, about Yitzchak digging all these wells and with Avimelech, all these details. Why is it telling you? You have to understand. everything in Bereshit is talking about something cosmic, on a cosmic level, that affects the entire world. And Baruch Hashem, we have Chachamim like Zera Shimshon and other Chachamim that reveal it to us. We should understand it, take it forward, and enjoy the days of Mashiach very soon in our days. Shabbat Shalom.